What's up, dudes? So I was gonna go to sleep and I discovered something about the heavy metal test server designer notes that I really just did not like at all. And it's not something I've talked about yet. It's not something I've gone public with yet. It's not Quick Match 2.0. It's not RAM. RAM is great. I love RAM. It's about the shotgun patch, and I love the shotgun patch. I love the basic idea of what they are trying to do, and I'm of the opinion that the game at this point should be balanced for fun. Right? That's an opinion I've kind of tacked towards. I know it's not a necessarily 100% popular opinion. I know that people on the R6 Pro League subreddit listen to my content, listen to my opinions about things, which I am somewhat, well, not even somewhat, I'm greatly flattered by that anybody involved in the competitive scene, at least a little bit, has wants to listen to anything that my hard stuck support ass has to say about Rainbow Six. But the thing is, I do think that there is a point at which the game has to be balanced around fun, because we are competitively minded Siege players are not the majority. So you have to think about it from a pragmatic and a business-like point of view, right? Who are we making this game for? And I think we can have both. I think we can have a competitively minded game that's also fun. So the shotgun thing, a lot of competitively minded players, former professional players, people involved in the scene, have gone on record and said, yeah, this is totally broken. Tightening up the choke, tightening up the pellet spread is letting some of these weapons snipe people from like 12 meters or so sometimes. And a lot of people are reacting to it and going, yeah, I know it's broken. I don't care because it's fun. Because like Arnold Schwarzenegger with the lever action shotgun, right? It's fun. Shotguns are cool. It's an FPS game. And I think that there is a part of me that's like, yeah, that's a great idea. I want people to have fun with the game again, because I've been having a lot of fun with the game on the test server. And I was of the opinion with the shotgun stuff that we were in a place where we could look at it and say, okay, yeah, this is like slightly overtuned, but we'll take a look at it, and then we'll just kind of we'll just kind of try, check, revise here and see what we think. And then if it is a little bit overtuned, we'll kind of dial it back. Well, there's one thing about the shotgun stuff that really just ruins the whole idea of this decision to me and really blows it up. And I'm just going to make the video with the intention of making a strong case logically without attacking anyone that I do not think this is a good idea. And I'm going to outline the reasons why. So the bad idea, in my opinion, here is headshot modifier. A pellet getting the headshot modifier deals 1.5 times the damage after its range modifier. Okay, so why is this bad? So this brings up a situation that is very, very similar. This is a problem in game design that has come up before in a game called Halo Reach. I'm going to switch over to the thing. Okay, here we go. So if you guys played Halo Reach, you remember that there was a mechanic called reticle bloom. So a lot of shooter games have reticle bloom, okay? When I fire full auto, you see my crosshair here, these 4 lines. When I fire, the reticle blooms. I can theoretically hit a headshot with this. I might even have a, fairly good chance of doing it, but it's not viable, right? Because if I do this, then someone is going to aim and shoot me in the face. In Halo Reach, because the game was so heavily, centered around multiple shots on target, right? It didn't really have one-shot headshot. It only had one-shot headshot if you broke a character's shields. In that game, the problem with Reticle Bloom there is that in order to hit that precision shot, it was made more difficult by repetitively shooting. So guy A is shooting full auto. Not full auto, but like trigger spamming, right? And at any point, his shot can strike at head, and then he wins the gunfight because he was trigger spamming. Whereas guy B can try to pace out the shots and be precise with it, and that person might still win the gunfight, but there is a chance that guy A will still win the gunfight. And it happens enough to the point where guy A doesn't really have a reason not to do it, so they're going to do it. So guy B has a dilemma. Does guy B take time with their shots or trigger spam? Eventually, even the most competitively minded, most mechanically skilled FPS players in that game would resort to the trigger spam because there was no reason not to, right? So you understand how we have like a statistical game here that's not good design, because we shouldn't be playing this like D&D. It's an FPS game. There is input, output. If you do this, this happens. That's good sports. That's good game design. With the way shotguns work, the dynamic was this, okay? So I have a shotgun. I'm a shotgun player. A very major key difference that shotguns had, right? That I'm going to alt tab there for a second. That's why it looks like that. Don't freak out. So a key thing that shotguns had that other weapon classes in Rainbow Six Siege did not have was they had a one-shot torso shot. This example will still work even though I'm on the test server for demonstration purposes. Right? Okay, so this kind of range, I'm smoke. Good example of this. Okay, let's pretend that this is like Moto door. I know it's a double door, but you get the idea. I'm holding Moto. I hear the hatch drop. Boom. One shot. Doesn't matter if there's one shot headshot in the game. As long as I hit my torso shot, I will win the engagement every single time. This is a really, really important game design nuance because Siege is one shot headshot. In this instance, the shotgun negates any mechanical skill floor, any raw input floor that the other player has because their positioning was not good. They made a positioning mistake and you punish them with a shotgun. Or if they're just really that cracked, then they'll shoot you in the head and they deserve that gunfight win. But that's the whole point, right? I have a shotgun. I engage you at close range. I have the advantage. If I'm not complete dog water, I should win. Now we get into a confusing situation. So we have the headshot multiplier. And we're faced with a dilemma here. In this instance, there's never really much of a reason to aim for the head. Right? Might as well aim for the chest. More pellets are going to strike. Higher chance of taking somebody down. Now we're far away. And now I have a choice here. Do I shoot at the chest and make sure all my pellets strike? Or do I shoot at the head and make sure that the pellets hit the head? Well, in the case of the M590, which has gotten indirectly nerfed in the grand scheme of things here because compared to its peers, it's not as reliable in terms of damage output. That's neither here nor there. But now I'm kind of faced with a really weird dilemma, right? So if I shoot the head, sometimes it'll hit, sometimes it won't. That time it hit. Okay, cool. I won that engagement. That time it didn't hit. That time it didn't. And that time it did. So even though it was 3 pellets, that had the same outcome for 2 different types of targets. In one engagement, I take down Sledge. In another engagement, I don't take down Sledge in one shot. Just because my pellets happened to hit the head in one engagement, and then some of them didn't hit the head in another engagement. But I was doing the exact same thing. At 10 meters, this has turned this type of engagement in Rainbow Six into a D&D roll, into Baldur's Gate. It has turned it into, if I roll a nat 20, okay, that's more like a nat 7. But you get the idea, right? If I roll a nat 20, then I can take down Sledge. But if I don't roll down a nat 20, then I don't take down Sledge. Now, Sledge has an L85, right? And he can always do this. Okay, like, duh. But sometimes Smoke might do this. And it happens frequently enough to the point where Smoke can theoretically gamble on this and go for it. Now, does that make it really smart? Does that make that a good play? Well, there's only, in most Siege lobbies, there's only going to be 10 rounds of ranked, right? That's the maximum amount of ranked rounds you can play. It goes, it goes to 9 rounds, sorry. So there's only 9 rounds. There's a very limited sample size of instances where this is going to happen. We look at dice roll mechanics in games, and they work because those trials are repeated over and over and over again. And the variables that we throw into those input-output types of situations are designed mathematically to be favored in one way versus another way. But Siege, it's not that binary. There's very few instances in which this is going to play out. So that's not really a fair engagement, right? And it can still be, I can still win the engagement, and then you can say, oh yeah, I fried that guy. I guess, or I got a lucky roll, but that doesn't really feel like I fried that guy. And I know FPS gamer culture, like everything is so like, it's, you know, it's black, it's white, it's you won the gunfight, you lost the gunfight. I understand. But when we're looking at this from a game design point of view, right? Take my personal skill out of it. This is not smart game design. There was nothing wrong, right, with the whole principle of tightening the choke so that way there's less RNG in terms of, you know, how you actually get like consistency across range and gunfights. Making shotguns viable at a slightly bigger, at a slightly longer distance than they were before is a really interesting choice that I think is going to shake things up a bit, and I'm having fun with it. But we can't do it at the expense of the competitive integrity of the game. Like it's not worth it. Because that now we're gonna have situations like this where I'm holding clubhouse rafters and it's like, should I swing with the SMG-11 or the pistol, right? Like that's gonna be the safer option most of the time, but this will happen enough of the time where I can theoretically do it. And then, it won't happen some of the time, but it doesn't matter, right? Because now this is why I brought up the Halo Reach problem. This is why I brought up the Halo Reach reticle bloom problem, because in my opinion, in terms of like game design theory, this is a very similar kind of like sociological kind of analysis we're having here with game design, right? If you really boil it down to like a psychology experiment, people are going to find the least common, path of least resistance here, right? That's why we see so many people ignoring the utility now, right? With Warden 1.5 meta. So don't expect players to just be like, oh yeah, that might not work, so I won't do it. No, they will 100% do it. And a lot of them, they'll whiff this gunfight and they'll be like, oh, I got, what? Because that's a gut reaction that you have after the fact. And then some of them, right? This is not helping my case, right? And then some of them will do that, and then it's like, oh yeah, I fried that guy. You did? Okay. Like, it's just, it is very strange. I don't understand. The whole concept of having the pellet spread tightened up, that is less RNG, right? You can argue. We can take a step back from that argument. We can take a step back from that conversation and go and isolate that point and say, tightening spread. Good, bad. That's up for debate. But then we're throwing in another variable that is completely unrelated to that. Right? The whole reason that shotguns work in this game isn't because you aim at the head. The whole reason they work is because they are the one exception to the rule of one-shot headshot. That's the point. And now we've lost that. Like, I have Buck's shotgun here. What? So I hit 2 pellets and then it hits him in the head, and then I deserve that? I deserve that engagement? I deserve that win? Are you serious? Come on, guys. We like, you gotta be... You were pulling my leg. You were joking. This is not it. If you wanted to make shotguns just give them a little bit more push, I'm okay with realism balancing to a point where it makes certain game mechanics more intuitive, right? Siege is attack shooter. That's why people, you know, complain about realism, my realism a lot, because they want to like put themselves into the situation and kind of go, okay, well, if I was doing this in real life, what would it look like? That's okay. There's some instances where that kind of game design philosophy works, right? Like one in the chamber, right? If I reload, now I have one in the chamber. Okay. It's like a little gun nerd thing. Like, I know a lot of people, you know, you'd be surprised, all right, my American friends, how many of our friends overseas don't even know, you know, that little nuance, right? But it's enough of a nuance for people who know that it's like, okay, that's intuitive. That makes sense. This is like, really? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? It's really frustrating because I love the whole concept of the shotgun change overall. And I feel like this is enough to just completely, like, completely ruin the whole point of it. You know, and now I'm going to make this video and then we're going to have a patch rolled out that's going to, you know, completely dial back the whole thing. And that's super lame because I love the idea behind it. You know, now we're just not going to get it probably because enough people are going to be upset about it. But yeah, you see what I mean? Like, in a game like this where the gunplay is so precise and like that is the one like key thing that like really crisp, clean, concise gunplay, that less RNG focused gunplay is what is so crucial to making this formula work. Don't add more RNG to the gunplay, Yubi. This is going to cause a lot of issues moving forward for you, and I strongly urge you to reconsider. I think tightening up the choke, right, tightening up the pellet spread, making certain guns a lot more viable than they used to be. Like, this is fun. I'm happy about mirror shotgun not being dog water. Like, that's cool. That's really cool. That's an option now. That's viable. But don't do it at the expense of other aspects about the gunplay. My solution, everything except the headshot multiplier for the pellets is fine. The headshot multiplier for the pellets really blows this whole thing up because there's so much RNG that you're throwing into the equation now that's just gonna, it's really gonna mess with the dynamic. And now people are just gonna, you know, there's no point, right, in like aiming for the chest with certain shotguns because sometimes they can get a really lucky dice roll with a like a bailiff, right? It just creates this avenue for so many like cheese gunfights that just shouldn't happen. Like, it's just really not it. It's just not it, in my opinion. See, like, that is 3 shots from that distance, and then here. Then that's 2. So that's the difference between 2 shots with the bailiff and, like, 5. That's not it. Okay? Don't make shotgun engagements into D&D. You want to make them more consistent, make them more consistent. If we have, you know, let's get to a point where it's like, okay, we have the mirror shotgun. If we want to make a differentiation between different pump shotguns, you know, this shotgun should have a guaranteed one shot at like 10 meters. This shotgun should have a guaranteed one shot at 11 meters. This one should have a guaranteed one shot at 8 meters, right? Like, do that. Have like really specific differentiation between different classes. So that way, like, there's incentives and there are advantages and disadvantages to different weapon types that feel fair, right? And there's rules that you can play around. right? Not like possibilities. That's just my opinion. I thought I'd rant and get this video out there before I went to sleep because it's on my mind. But yeah, Toulon didn't read. Shotgun change, in theory, great. The headshot multiplier thing really, really ruins it for me, in my opinion, and I hope Ubisoft changes their mind on this one. Thanks.